we continue, for you to tell me, I would like a volunteer or two volunteers, as the case may be, to tell me something that you have really taken with you so far in this training. Perhaps something that just stood out for you, or something that you remember, or something that you just needed to be reminded. Of course, you knew it already, just need to be reminded. So that's what I want to hear. The reason I like to do this is so that I will know that, yes, at least we are on the same page, and my effort so far has not been a futile one. So please, at this point, just in a few minutes, be just 2 or 3 minutes, someone should help us, tell us something that has stood out for you, something that you have learned, or maybe perhaps something you may wish to share. We've had a week interval, so we may have had a conflict situation, or we may have, seen network does not disturb us today. Because yes, please, who is going to help us? We don't really have much time. Mr. Sani.
Yes,
ma'am. Sani, are you here, sir?
Yes, I'm here, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I have a colleague that is Sani Suleiman.
Oh, okay, Sani Suleiman. Yes, sir.
Maybe that's yeah. Okay, let me ask. So, Mr. Sani, what has been your take on this training so far? Like, what have you
The network is bad, sir. We are not hearing you, ma'am, at all. Like me, I am not hearing you at all.
Okay, I don't know. Please, are we together? I just hope that network will not punish us today, because today is the last day. Can you hear me now, please?
Yes, we are hearing you now.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know. I just maybe I will have
to.
Thank you. I'm going to share the screen again. I think we can all see this. Maybe we should just delve into what we have, because I wanted to today. All right. We stopped last week at on the 8th module. We completed the 8th module last week. Today, we want to look at the 9th. We are going to start 9, 10, and 11. We are looking at gender perspectives in peace building. That's what we are going to look at. That's module 9, gender perspectives. Now, before we delve into it, we are going to be a little bit gender sensitive here because that is how it is when you are studying peace and conflict management at a point. It cannot be complete without you emphasizing these things that we are about to delve in now. So are meant for just here, and you will learn a whole lot of things from it. So gender, like we know, when we talk about gender, we are looking at male or female. So this particular unit is talking about is looking at the importance, the critical role of gender in conflict and peace building. What role do men play in peace building? What role do the female folk play in peace building? Now we are going to look at gender dynamics that influence conflict. And we emphasize as well the importance of women participation in peace processes, and also the need to integrate gender considerations throughout all stages of conflict resolution. That is what this chapter. Now, when it comes to conflict, when it comes to resolving conflicts, resolving issues, you find out that in the world today, most of the how do I put it? Women are more on the receiving end of conflicts, whether you like to believe it or not. Women are, to a larger extent, bearing the effects of conflict. Women suffer a lot from issues. Even when we look at a situation, husband and wife situation, or any situation, I like talking about husband and wife because that one is easily relatable, is easily relatable, so you will understand. Most times, women are always at the receiving end. When there are issues, it is the woman. Let's look at sometimes, maybe even in a marriage, maybe a man and a woman gets married. Yes, we know that there is awareness. We know that there's civilization. We know that we are gradually becoming gender sensitive, like understanding the need for us to treat women properly. But if you look at the traditional setting, traditionally, let's just look at it culturally, traditionally, women are mostly relegated to the background when it comes to conflicts. They feel they don't have a say. They feel women don't have a voice. Like they should end in the kitchen. Women, they end in the kitchen, maybe in the bedroom. Yes, that's not, thank God for awareness, like I said. So the more we are looking at these things, the more we are trying to understand them, the better it is, because most of these norms are gradually falling off, but they are still there. So we want to look at what are the root causes of conflict. Why do we have conflict? As we can see here, gender inequality. Most times, women, like I said, are considered to be less, are considered to be maybe the weaker sex, or if I may use it literally like that, or women are just there. Look like a traditional setting when there is a problem, maybe they in the chief's palace, or in a where they have to really make very important decisions. You discover that women are not there. Women are not even allowed to be there. Like they feel that the society feels that, or traditional rulers feel that women are not supposed to be, their voices are not supposed to be heard. That is just the literal way. So when there are things like this, they feel and expect that the men should be the one at the forefront, because the men can reason better, because the men can understand better, because, that masculinity of men, that, their virility shouldn't be attacked. So they are the head, so they have to settle the issues. I agree perfectly. Men are actually the head. But we are looking at it holistically when we talk about conflict. So gender inequality is one of the root causes of conflict. When a woman is not treated the way she should be, when she's not given equal rights as a human being to air her views, to talk, to bring out her challenges, to express herself, her voice rather is not heard or does not want to be heard. These are some of the issues. These are some of the causes of conflict. Then lack of access to resources and power for women, and harmful social norms too can contribute to conflict. Like I talked about, social norms, women are not supposed to be heard. They should just be seen, they shouldn't know, a woman doesn't have a voice, so these are some of the things that are the root causes of conflict. Now, for instance, let's look at, now I'm going to be more, I'll give you examples, practical examples. Now, in protracted conflicts, let's look at the North. Okay, let's take maybe in the northern Nigeria. Now, women are excluded from traditional leadership structures. In most cases, they are excluded, from traditional leadership structures and decision-making processes. They have limited ability to shape the peace agenda and address their specific needs. Now, when a woman is in a place or a woman is in a leadership position, she will understand better the needs of the women, the needs of the female folk. She will understand better how it feels, because they say he who feels it knows it. So if a woman is in a position of leadership, she would be able to express and understand better how to address the issues that are relating to women, the issues that directly affect women. So these are some of the things, the structure of leadership, especially the traditional setting. Women are not allowed to hear their voices. Then let's also look at, we've talked about the northern Nigeria, how women are excluded. It's not only in the north, but I'm just using case studies, so I can decide to use anyone as a case study. It's not only in the north. Now, we also have the Boko Haram insurgency too, that has exploited gender inequalities. There are already existing gender inequalities. Men and women are not placed on a balance. Women are marginalized, they are segregated, they are relegated to the background. So there's already that existing gender inequality. So when we had that Boko Haram insurgency in Nigeria, it's now exploited these gender inequalities, with women facing heightened risk of abduction, violence. Women, you can, at least those of us in Nigeria, you can relate to what I am talking about. Women are exposed, they face this heightened risk. Forced marriages, some of them very young, they are forced into getting married. Sexual violence due to their marginalized status in the society, and a whole lot. So you see that it's really a very important topic, for women to be given the ample opportunity to also express themselves, because women feel all those things. As we progress, we are going to see it. Women feel all those things. They get to be, when there are issues now, God forbid, maybe there is a war, the men, because of their masculinity, because of their militarized, masculinity, or originally, if there's danger now, what quickly appeals to the man is, oh, there is an issue. I'm a man, so I have to stand up for it. That is how men are wired. So the women are the ones that are left, though they have that masculinity, I mean the men, but the women are the ones that are actually left to bear the brunt of the result of war, the result of rape, the result of forced marriage, the result of a whole lot of things. Women actually face it. So also, control over Boko Haram, as I was talking about, has systematically targeted women and girls, subjecting them, not only Boko Haram, when there are issues, you see that the women are easily prone to having the violence, they are being exploited when there are issues. So that's what I want to understand. We are talking about conflict now. What are the causes of conflict and how to foster peace? We are going to look at some of the things that we can do to help salvage this menace that is eating deep into the fabrics of the society. We have to do something about it in our own little way, hence this training. So women, like I said, they are subjected to sexual violence, forced marriages, and other forms of gender-based exploitation as a practice of war. Yes. If they are fighting, if there's war between two places now, you see that one of the things that the warring faction or the other people would want to do, they want to exploit, they want to do the worst. And you know, when they are able to get the women, they are able to molest them, they're able to rape them, they're able to ruin their lives, they're able to do all those things. It speaks well. It speaks that yes, they are actually on top of their game. You know, so women, you see, women by nature, by virtue of the fact who they are and how they are, it exposes them to certain hazards. Not only women, men also have their own hazards, but I want to look at the women first. So, okay, even in communal conflict, let's look at communal conflict between farming and herdsmen, maybe heading communities. Like I'm actually narrowing it to Nigeria. I don't want to broaden it to other places that are. Let's look at our own home now. You know, when farming and heading communities in the Middle Belt region, you can abduction and rape of women have been used to intimidate and displace entire communities. So now it's now the norms. When there are issues, what they rush to do is to see how to rape women. The more they can exploit these women, the more they can rape them, the more they can displace the communities, make people, you know, run away, make women and children to be displaced, the better it is for them. So, but in a bid of seeking peace, these things don't really come to play. And also, gendered access to resources and livelihood. Now, when these women are displaced from their agricultural lands and disruption of their small-scale trading activities, those things that they do, you know, women, especially women in the north, they farm a lot. That's one thing I respect, that part. They farm a lot. You can see a woman have large portions of land that she farms, like a man, she farms. So when these things happen and they are disrupted, their small-scale trading businesses during insurgencies, you know, will definitely tell on the home. It undermines the household food security and community resilience. So all these things, women are very, very important in peace building processes. And when we address the root causes of conflict, like some of these things that I have talked about, it will help us to see more how we can make women to be actively involved in leadership. Let them talk, hear their voices, and so on and so forth. So let's look at the experience of conflict like we have on the next slide. I guess everyone can see my slide because when there's network issue, the thing just goes off, but I guess we're in order. Hello, please, can everyone hear me and see the slides?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. I've just heard two
I
male
see it, ma'am.
voices. Okay, thank you. So as I was saying, okay, Bayo Johnson Labi has joined us. All right, let's continue. So women and girls may face to talk too much today because I'll give you room for us to rub minds and see the way forward in some of these things. Okay, now, let's imagine a world where the voices of women were not just heard. You know, we talk about women hearing women's voices. Let women speak out. Let women come out and say how they feel and see how to mediate in the peace processes. It is very, very important. Though the economy, though the society doesn't give room for this, but the women, their unique experiences, women have unique experiences, they have the leadership qualities, they have all it takes. And if we really want to build peace, remember we are talking about peace building. If we really want to build peace, then it is very important that we look above all these things. We should look at how deeply entrenched, how deeply gender inequalities and the weaponization of gender have shaped the impact of various conflicts across Nigeria. It's very important for us to note that. So let's see. Now, we want to look at post-conflict reconstruction like we have here. From the word post-conflict, we already know what we are talking about. After conflict, when maybe after war, maybe after insurgency, maybe after what is expected to be done. Traditional gender roles may hinder women's participation in rebuilding efforts and benefiting from peace, just as I've already said. After a conflict comes the aspect of trying to rebuild peace. After war comes a time where everything is gradually beginning to come into place. So in such a situation, when we are talking about peace building, so anything we talk dances around conflict and peace, the way our traditional setting is, it may hinder women's participation in rebuilding efforts and benefiting from peace dividends. Even when these things are actually done, sometimes women are still not given access to them. Now, after a conflict ends, the process of rebuilding and healing communities is called post-conflict reconstruction, like we already have here. It involves, what does it involve? It involves tackling all the damage, all the disruption that is caused by maybe fighting or caused by the result of the war, with the goal of restoring stability, securing and security rather, and a sense of normalcy to return to the environment. For instance, let's look at NSAS. I'd like to really talk about Nigeria now. Let's look at when we had, the NSAS issue that we all know. After that, it took time to start rebuilding, took time. So many people were affected. So many people, a couple of people lost their lives. Some people were incapacitated. There were so many issues. So after that, in order to ensure that peace is restored, post-conflict reconstruction, all the stakeholders now had to put all hands became on deck to ensure that peace is restored, physical rebuilding. And when we are talking about building of peace, there are many little aspects. The physical rebuilding, when there is a war, when there are issues, you know what happens. So after that, there has to be repairing of damaged infrastructures, maybe buildings that have been burnt down, maybe structures, bridges, roads, utilities, things that have been. Those are some of the things that we really need to do in a bid to reconstruct, to ensure that normalcy returns after a conflict. Then clearing landmines too and other unexploded devices to make the area safe again. When there is war, when there are issues, anything is expected. So rebuilding homes too, schools, hospitals, and other essential facilities. So you see that post-conflict reconstruction, it's in various ways. That's various ways in a bid to ensure normalcy returns. We talk about the physical rebuilding, like we just finished talking about. Good, that's the physical structures. Then we look at the economic revitalization. You have to start moving. It's like you start gearing, like you start a car that has been parked for long. You have to start to ensure that it comes alive. Gradually, restarting local businesses and industries. Many people, due to the issues, maybe may have relocated, from there, may have left the environment. Some of them are still bleeding figuratively. They are still bleeding from the result of the war, from the result of the conflict. They are still bleeding. So it takes time to get these things done. Don't forget that we are talking about peace building. Peace building is actually a journey. It's not yet a destination. So building, like you build your house, is gradually. So that's why we are looking at these different aspects. So restarting the local businesses around and industries that may have been shut down or may have suffered during the event of a conflict, as the case may be. So also creating job opportunities. These are some things that we do, creating job opportunities and livelihood support for affected populations, you see. Now, let's look at maybe like the herdsmen issue that I talked about, maybe the herdsmen issue that I talked about earlier. If it continues, maybe after that, you find out that people's farmlands were destroyed. These people have to start rebuilding their lives once again. These are some of the things that the government does or should do to help to reconstruct, to make people heal from the effect of a particular conflict. That is why conflict is not good. What I advise people, no matter what, let's not even look at the economic, to kickstart the economy again, restarting the businesses and every other thing. Then governance and security too. Establishing functioning government institutions and the rule of law. Training and deploying security forces to maintain public order. That's another thing. Because people will be so scared and so skeptical to come back to that place where the conflict actually erupted. You know, like we are having most of people relocate from conflict areas, from places that have been war zones. They are relocating, moving away. So in such situations now, for you to be able to restore the confidence back in the people that that place is safe for them to return, then you have to do more work as regards the security forces. You have to deploy a lot of people, like security forces, to maintain public order, to ensure that there is peace in that place, to ensure accountability and transitional justice for human rights abusers. Two, you also have to, when there are issues, when there are conflicts, like I made reference to the herdsmen issue and the Chibok girls, you know, when there are conflicts like that, you have to address, we are human beings, so there has to be justice for some wrongs that have been done. Though those wrongs cannot be rewritten, but at least those people can be compensated. Those people can be given a sense of belonging once again. It helps them to heal when they are exposed to, after conflicts. It helps them to heal. So reconciliation and peace building facilitating dialogues too. You know, you have to get reconciled. If there are communal conflicts, you have to bring this community, bring the other community. You have to have the contact and cover situation. You have to see how to ensure that there is a dialogue between the parties involved to ensure that it prevents reoccurrence of such situations or escalation of such situations. So also do not forget that addressing the root causes of conflicts to prevent it from reigniting, which I kept emphasizing, or we kept emphasizing rather from the first day, that it's very important to address the root cause of any problem, of any conflict. That point cannot be overemphasized. Address it, because if you don't address it, it's like you are putting water inside a basket. Of course, you know it cannot retain the water. So when there are conflicts, we should try and ensure that we address the root causes of this conflict. When you know what a problem is or what caused a particular situation, it's easier for you to prefer solution to it. So these are some of the things that government does or should do after a conflict. They should try to see how to reconstruct a particular place, reconstruct people's minds, integrate people that have been wounded as a result of have wounds, bleeding, to bring them and reintegrate them too. So they also need to address the root causes, like I talked about, of this conflict to prevent it from reigniting again. This is very important. So the overall goal of all this, of conflict reconstruction, is just to help communities transition, help them to move from conflict to sustainable peace and development, because that's what we want. This process is not always easy. It's always challenging, and it takes many years, but it is essential for lasting stability and healing, regardless of the time that it will take. It is important that after conflicts, there should be reconstruction. There should be, these things we have listed should be put into place to ensure that everyone is happy, to ensure that people now start to have confidence, you know, to reintegrate, to move again into the society. So practically, that's what we are going to be looking at. Like we have this picture here, we can see women's role in peace process. Women's role in peace process. We have a lot of organizations. Like I said, this module 9 is practically talking about women, because the women have really, women have seen the other side in most cases. So it's important that for us to be able to handle peace, women cannot be silent. For us to have peace in the country, for us to have peace in the world, we cannot just sideline women. We have to integrate them in. So this chapter 9, module 9, is going to give us an insight as to how to go about it. So Women's role in peace processes. What are some of the activities that women? Now, we talked about post-conflict rebuilding. Now, sometimes, like I express themselves, they're not allowed to share, to be, when it comes to these things. Why? Because of traditional setting. A traditional setting already hinders women. You see, like in many societies, there are very strict ideas about what kinds of roles and responsibilities are considered appropriate for men versus women. It's already a standard in some setting. There are some roles that has just been cast on concrete that they say these roles, this is mainly for men and this is mainly for women. So during times of conflict now, these gender norms, these issues of this gender issue tend to become even more rigid and strict. So women are usually expected to just focus on domestic duties. They are just, in all this post-conflict reconstruction I'm talking about, most times women are not even integrated. Women are not even carried along to hear how best they think that peace and normalcy can be restored. They don't need their opinions in some cases. Take note that now with the awareness, people are beginning to be more aware of the fact that women have to be given a particular, women have to be listened to, with awareness gradually. Like I said, peace building is a journey. It's not actually a destination. We have not reached there. So we are still moving. So with all this that we are learning little by little, it will go a long way in helping us. So like I was saying, women are usually expected to focus on domestic duties, like caring for the home and for the family. While originally in some settings, men are seen as the primary decision makers and leaders. That's good. Nobody is trying to maybe trying to, I'm not trying to say it's not, but it's not right. But I'm saying that women should also be given equal rights. There should be gender equality. There should be gender equality because women are originally peacemakers. Women are original by virtue of who they are. They are originally peacemakers. So as much as they are, who else do you think would be more important to actually move hand in hand with the men folk to ensure that there is peace? Of course, it's women. So these these gender norms can create big problems when it comes to rebuilding communities after a conflict ends. Because women who make up half of the population or even more often get left out of the processes. Their voices aren't prioritized. Their voices are not heard. Similarly, that's for conflict, yes. Similarly, the peace dividends, those things that result from the peace, the benefits that come with transitioning from war to peace. That's the post-conflict reconstruction, where we are trying to make sure there's peace. Now, those benefits that come, like maybe new jobs, maybe economic opportunities, they tend to flow more to men than to women. We already know that. Why? This is because the traditional gender roles mean women have less access to education, to training, and to resources. It's already there. So these are some of the things that we as peace builders, we taking this training on peace and conflict management, we should ponder on these things and see. We are going to look at some practical ways that we can handle some of these challenges. So for us, so even though these conflicts may have ended, sometimes even after the conflicts may have even ended, women can still face big barriers to fully participating in the rebuilding processes and reaping the fruits or the dividends of this peace, the rewards of this peace. This just goes a long way. It perpetuates the unfair gender inequalities that may have contributed to the conflict in the first place. So this thing we call inequality, I'm always very passionate when I talk about it because I grew up from a particular part of the country. That I saw it all. Like I always say, I saw everything. I saw it all. I saw the way women were treated. I saw the way girls, not even women this time around, I mean, they are girls, the way they are being treated, the mishap they are being subjected to, the effects of I mean, everything. I saw it all. So when it comes talking about gender inequality, I get a little bit passionate about it. So just bear with me. So this just perpetuates the unfair gender inequalities that may have contributed to the conflict in the first place. To truly heal, remember, peace talks about healing. For there to be peace, then definitely there has to be healing. So for people to truly heal and move forward, post-conflict societies need to challenge these rigid gender norms. They have to, for us to really heal, they have to break some of these barriers. We have to see how to challenge these gender norms. Though it's not easy, it's not a walk in the park, like I always say. But with awareness and with the right knowledge, I think it's something that really will definitely get to the destination someday. So women really have to be empowered as equal members in rebuilding their communities, and shaping the path forward. This is very important for us to know. So let's see, like we talked about women's roles in these okay. Now can be seen. We have here, I don't know, I think this thing is trying to block us, so it has to shift. All right, so now women have significant agencies. They are so as powerful agencies of change, of peace. They help in the building process. So let's look at how do women actually contribute in peace building processes. Now, women can act as negotiators and mediators. Grassroots initiatives, community organizing, and peace education efforts led by women. We are going to look at some of the examples. The examples is to further buttress the fact that without women, nothing significant, nothing so significant, let me use so, nothing so significant can actually be achieved without women being incorporated into these things. No. Sometimes when there are conflicts and you go to it, okay, let me ask, like, let me pause here and ask, if there is a conflict, trying, maybe even if it is in a workplace, let's look at a workplace conflict now, or maybe, a workplace conflict, or maybe negotiation, workers' actions of service. And you get into a place on a negotiating table, you have people seated there, and you go there. I'm going to throw this question open, so you just give me a response, and preferably a man, because we are not trying to be gender sensitive here. So you walk into a place where they are having peace meetings to resolve a particular conflict on a negotiation table, and you go there, you take a look around, and you see that everyone there, they're all men in that particular setting. What would come to your mind? I just want us to would come to your So let me rephrase the question this other way. Let me take it this other way around. If on a negotiating table, maybe you go and you see men, you see women, how would you feel? What will come to your mind? I just want us to talk about it a little. Who is going to help us? Maybe on a negotiation table, you go and you don't see a woman there, maybe, and it's heated. You know that this is going to be very tough. People tempers are high and want to like sit down to see how to resolve this. And you go, you find only men, you don't see women there. Something should be in your mind, or you think of your mind will go towards one particular direction. I don't know who is ready to help us, because I've talked and talked. The first time I asked the question, network disrupted us. Okay, Madam Rachel, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. So as a woman going into that kind of setting, I'll feel neglected. I'll actually feel bad. I'll feel that the women are left behind. We don't matter. That's what will come to my mind.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for that. That's the first thing that will come to your mind, and that's a beautiful response. You would feel marginalized. Why is it that it's only men here? Okay, it's all about the men. That means we are not even okay. Let's thank you for that, Madam Rachel. Let me ask a man this time around, because we have a lot of men there. I hope my screen is visible, because this network, once it fluctuates, it should be better this time around. So for the men, please, I would like a man here, a man, to tell us, if you get to a negotiation table and there is no woman on that table, case is supposed to be judged concerning someone they are trying to arrive at what to do with a person, and the people's temper is played up, people are angry, and you are on that table. What would your suggestion be? We are talking about gender peace building now, the importance of a woman in a negotiation table or in peace building. So do we have any man that is willing to speak for the women? Let me see if there's going to be any man on the platform that is willing to speak for the women. Today, I haven't heard Mr. Hilary's voice. Mr. Hilary, what is happening today? Hello?
Hello, doctor.
Yeah, Mr. Hilary, you know you were very funny
I'm
the other day.
sorry.
What's happening? I hope there's no conflict today, nothing going, no intrapersonal conflict going on.
There's conflict. Obviously, it's conflict. I'm on the road.
Okay.
That's the conflict situation I'm facing.
All right.
So,
okay, we hope that you come.
Just like you said, there's always the need to balance situation. God created man and woman to balance things.
Yeah.
If I go to such a situation, also it depends on the issues being discussed. It's very important. We look at that, the issues being discussed.
Okay.
But that notwithstanding, every issue in life, we have women and men can contribute and deal with such issues effectively. So, and women have been built in such a way that they kind of bring balances to every situation. They know how to calm frayed nerves and temper. God has given them that role naturally to play. So it's always good to bring that balancing act into it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hilary. That is, Madam Rachel gave us a beautiful answer, and you just nailed it. You just nailed it on what. So that's very good. That's actually one of the things I was looking out for. Women naturally, thank you so much, Mr. Hilary. Women naturally have the tendency, like I said, they are peacemakers originally because of how they are wired, So sometimes when tempers are heated, when the tempers are heated, you find out that most times it's women, when they say, we are going to do this, you find out that it is women that are easily able to break such a situation and weather the storm in such cases. So it is important that in whatever we do, women are included. Women are represented in any peace building situation. Women are represented. Women are incorporated into it. So thank you so much, Madam Rachel and Mr. Hilary. We just trust that you'll be out of that conflict situation in no time. All right, so women peace building activities, like we talked about, women are originally seen as negotiators and mediators. So women's participation as decision makers and leaders in the peace process is absolutely crucial. We cannot overemphasize that need, because it is important, and there are several reasons why it is important. One, representation and inclusivity, very important. Peace agreements that are negotiated without women's voices are inherently incomplete and unrepresentative of their affected population. Now, we are of the opinion, no, I think I hear they say women are more than men. I don't know. I've not actually carried out that statistics. But when it comes to population, men are many. Let's just look at it the other way around. Women voices are not heard. Then it doesn't work because it doesn't represent in what is happening. So women make up half of the population and they experience the impact of conflict. Remember, I did tell you the impact of, because they are at the receiving end of most of the things that happen. Violence, most. The men, maybe, yeah, I agree that men too also suffer, but you know, their own is more the war front, picking up their arms. The women, when it comes to exploitation, when it comes to rape, you know, some of them, like the Chibok girls, we are aware of that story. The Chibok girls, most of them, in a bit in the Boko Haram issue, in that stress, that period when all those things were happening, those women were actually kidnapped. Most of them are mothers, were forced into bearing children at tender ages. They were exploited, they were abused, and so on and so forth. So you see that women are prone to all these things because why? When there is a war situation, those people that actually are not after peace, they capitalize on those things and they feel that the more they are able to do that, it will impact more on the other side, on the other side of the team, of the people, you know, that are affected. So if they can deal with the women, if they can deal with the children, if they can attack those set of people, it will really, really be very impactful. And their position will be felt, you know, in most of these cases. So you see, so also addressing women, their unique perspectives and needs must be reflected in anything that you do. Addressing these gender-specific concerns, women are affected by sexual and gender-based violence. We already talked about that during conflict. So having women at the negotiating table ensures that these harms are properly acknowledged and addressed. If women are not there, for instance, maybe on the peace building table when they are trying to see what to do, and women are not even there, so who is going to explain the effect of rape? Who's going to explain the effect of early marriages on these children? Who's going to explain the effect of this problem in family settings? Because women are the ones that actually stay in the home front, so they feel it better. Who will better explain the effect of displacement of homes, having to move, relocate with your children, the impact of your children? Yes, men feel that women are emotional people originally. So these things tell on them. So what is better than for them to be involved on the negotiation table? Now, women too also have distinct priorities when it comes to issues like healthcare, you know, education, economic recovery in post-conflict settings. Women have their own distinct priorities. Also, building sustainable peace too, in the course of peace, the peace that is sustainable, peace that will come to stay. We need women. Now, research shows that peace agreements are more likely to be successful and long-lasting when women participate meaningfully in the negotiation. Now, women often have strong community connections. Please, let's meet so that we can move. Please, let's meet our mics. Thank you. Women have strong community connections and they tend to focus on reconciliation. Women, they focus on reconciliation. They prefer to see how to put two and two together to ensure that people reconcile, and social cohesion factors critical for preventing the reoccurrence of violence. So if women are brought into the picture, because of their emotional state, because of how they are wired, they always look out for peace. They always look out for peaceful ways to see that situations are handled. Why? So that it doesn't escalate. Because women in most situations, okay, let me cast our mind back to, let me just digress a little to issues of divorce, or maybe issues of divorce. Let's look at that one. You find out that women, when it comes to divorce, that's a conflict situation. Most women, before a woman decides to divorce the husband or divorce, they are considerate about the children. I'm not saying that men are not, but we are looking at how women are wired now. You see that before a woman decides to actually leave a marriage, especially when children are involved, it takes a whole lot. It takes a whole lot, regardless of how the society is now, regardless of how westernization has come. We are trying to be westernized, trying to imbibe many cultures that are not inherently ours. You know, you still find out that women, because of their the way they are emotionally wired, they find it very, very difficult to be able to meander, you know, to leave the home because of the children. They will look, oh, my children, yes. So that tells you that women are always considered, look at all aspects of things before they actually go all out to take a decision. So modeling gender equality to the inclusion of women as negotiators and mediators send a powerful message about gender equality and the value of women's leadership. The more we integrate women into leadership positions, the more we try to dissect, the more we try to water down this gender inequality that has eaten deep into the fabrics of our society. So we as people that are learning, that are taking this course, people that are maybe managers of organizations, have our own families, we should try more. We should use this course to help expand, to help us see inculcating or incorporating women into decision making as important. Even in their home, they say behind every successful man is a woman. That's the literary statement. Why? Because like Mr. Hillary said, it's always good to be on a balance, because God created man and woman. And so it should be balanced. So these are some of the things. So also, leveraging women's expertise too. Many women have direct experience dealing with the consequences of war and building peace at the local level. Now, their knowledge from what they see, their day-to-day, from where they are in their background, where they are marginalized and kept, from that aspect, from there, the things they see, the experiences they build, the knowledge they have, the skills they have are indeed invaluable assets, you know, that would help in any negotiating scenario or mediating situation. Now, excluding women will mean you are removing this expertise. You are undermining the effectiveness and the sustainability of the peace process. So I cannot overemphasize this. If I want to like keep talking about it, we'll go over and over again. So that we don't exceed our 7 o'clock timeline, let us just move. So it is very important that we include women in all aspects. Ensuring women's full and equal participation in all stages of peace talks and negotiations is not just the right thing to do. It's very, very important to make the process and the outcome reflective of the population needs and priorities. Because if you put both gender in a negotiating table, the other people, the other parts of that gender will feel that, yes, we are represented. So it will not even give room for more issues to erupt. Okay, the men are there, like we know women are there, they understand, they spoke our minds, and so on and so forth. So this is very important for us to note. So let's move to the next slide. I'm a little bit under the weather, so hence the way I'm talking. So now let's look at women, peace, and security agenda. Now, Women, Peace and Security Agenda, that's WPS as it's normally referred to, is a critically important global framework that aims to strengthen women's participation and leadership in aspects of peace and security. That's what it does. It helps to So women it is important, like we already emphasized. It's a global framework that strengthens women's participation and leadership in all aspects of peace and security. Now, the WPS agenda, that's the World Peace and Security Agenda, emerged in the early 2000s, year 2000, when the United Nations Security Council passed a particular resolution, Resolution 1325, in year 2000. And this landmark resolution recognized that armed conflicts have disproportionate impact on women and on girls. Because when they carried out the research, they observed that, yes, that the impact of war, the impact of conflict is disproportionate, is not equal, that the women suffer the more. That is what they resolved. And that their inclusion in conflict prevention, that's including women in the process of preventing conflict, in the process of resolving conflict, and in peace building, is very, very important. That is why we have this WPSM agenda. Now, since we had that agenda, since that WPS agenda that was formed in the year 2000 has continued to evolve, it has continued to evolve with subsequent UN resolutions and different updates, national action plan being developed, and so on and so forth. So the key pillars of this WPS agenda include participation, women participation, ensuring women's full participation and meaningful participation in all decision-making processes related to peace and security. From that time, it became imperative, other governments picked it up. It became imperative that women must and should be included in peace and security issues in a bid to make decisions concerning peace and security. Also, protection too, protecting women and girls from sexual and gender-based violence in conflict situations and post-conflict settings. Women needed to be protected because they suffer the most. That was one of the things. Prevention too, addressing the root causes of conflict, those causes that affect women and girls, including gender-based discrimination. All this, gender-based discrimination. Okay, women, you are a woman, you shouldn't go to school. A girl child education, you know, some parts of the world still believe up until these days, it's not important for a female child to go to school. So you see all this discrimination, they are being treated less of a human being because they are women. So these are some of the things that the WPS agenda came up with. Okay, also relief and recovery. It also talks about ensuring that women's specific needs are met in humanitarian assistance, that whenever there are needs, you know, for women, maybe to recover or relieve materials given, they should take into consideration that women should have, women should not just be a sideline in the process. That's what it talks about, you know. When they are having relief, maybe assistance, humanitarian assistance, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, women to be looked at. Now, this agenda recognizes that sustainable peace cannot be achieved without the inclusion and empowerment of women, like we already talked about. The reason I keep emphasizing, you see some sentences, some words I make I keep emphasizing them, then that tells you that emphasis indicates importance. Those things are, those particular sentences and the emphasis that I make shows you that it is important. Now, this WPS agenda, like I talked about, recognizes that women have to be included. It calls on government. This agenda calls on governments, calls on civil societies to take action to integrate a gender perspective into the peace and security initiatives. For example, this could include increasing the representation of women in peacekeeping operations and peace negotiations, increasing the quota. Like right now, women are really struggling to be incorporated into government, like in Nigeria, to ensure, and thank God for the administration to ensure that women hold strategic positions in the government so that they'll be able to speak out for women, so that they'll be able to address the needs of the women when it comes to, from that level, they'll be there to speak out for the women. So one of the things that it involves is the representation of women providing training on gender-responsive conflict analysis and prevention, training for these women, ensuring that justice and reparations for survivors of conflict-related violence, they have their own share. So when we talk about conflict-related violence, gender-related violence, like we talked about sexual violence, like women being raped, being molested, all these things that are addressed, women should also have the feedback. Women should also be relieved of these things, to share in the relief materials. Women should also be taken care of to effectively pull through the healing process. That's what they are trying to say. So overall, this WPS agenda represents a critical shift in how the international community approaches issues of peace, security, and gender equality. Just overhauls it, makes us to be more aware of what we need to do, to ensure that women also have equal rights in everything. So that's what this WPS agenda talks about. So let's see. Now, mainstreaming is what we call mainstreaming. Mainstreaming gender in conflict analysis and resolution. You find out that this particular model keeps dancing around, like I told you before I started, that is gender sensitive. Like we are really, really focusing on the women in this case, because it is a problem that really affects conflict resolution. Is something that needs to be handled, that needs to be looked into to ensure that we build peace effectively in the peace building process. So we have mainstreaming gender. What does this simply mean? What does it mean? Mainstreaming gender. It simply means systematically integrating gender considerations into all aspects, as ensuring that you include gender into whatever you are doing. It's very, very important in a bid to prevent conflict, in a bid to analyze conflict, to resolve conflict, to reconstruct. Make sure that you put gender, you take note of the female gender and incorporate them, integrate them into all these steps. That's what it simply talks about. So gender-sensitive conflict analysis. You have to, as a peace builder, you have to ensure that you identify the conflicts that impact women. You know that there are certain conflicts that actually impact women, and you identify how this conflict impacts these women and men differently, how they respond to it, how it affects them differently. Now, let me explain that. I'll pause a little at this point to explain this so that we will all understand what we are trying to talk about. So please, like I like to do, can everyone hear me? Because network can be funny and it's very bad talking to yourself. So that's why I intermittently need to hear if you are listening to me.
I can hear you clearly, ma.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So network is fine. Okay, I'm seeing Mr. Solomon. Mr. Solomon, can you hear me?
I can hear you clearly. Yes, ma.
Oh,
I can hear you.
We can hear you clearly. We can hear you clearly.
okay, so I thought the men didn't want to hear me because I was talking about female gender. Okay,
No,
but
I
we
have
have very
something
good
to say
men.
anyway, but I'm just listening.
Yeah, okay.
I have a lot to say, but I just want to pay attention first.
Mr. Solomon, okay,
Yes.
whenever I have this particular training and I get to this point, I've had it severally, and I know how it is. I know how some men actually try to react to it, but I know we have very good men on this platform, so the rest will be the case here. So let's continue so that I can give Mr. Solomon time to say what he wants to say. Okay, so now, conflict impacts women and men differently. And how do they? Now, take for example, during conflict, women and men often face different challenges and consequences. This is because of the way our society has traditionally. For example, women are vulnerable to sexual violence, human trafficking. Women are more, when we talk about human trafficking, you get to hear every day what happens. Women are by nature, by how they are, the way God created them, or us, rather in this case, because I'm a woman. You know, women are more vulnerable to sexual violence, human trafficking, being forced to flee their homes, leaving them without access to basic resources and livelihoods. They may also be burdened with caring for children, caring for the elderly, caring for the injured. Even when there are conflict situations, you find out that women, they just like a movie producer will say, get into character. They want to give you a character to play out. They just say you get into character. That's the way women are. When there are issues of people being injured in the face of conflict or war, of course, you know, women easily just get into character because they are the ones that are actually wired that way. So the elderly, the injured, you know, can limit their own ability to seek safety or participate in conflict resolution. Now, even in the bid of trying to maybe help out in that, trying to see how to help out in these various aspects I have talked about, it can limit their own ability for them to seek safety in most cases. So gender norms also plays a big role in fueling conflict. Gender role. For instance, ideas about masculinity that glorify violence and portray, there are some ideas about masculinity, yes, that glorify, yes, I'm a man, so because I'm a man, it has to be done like this. I'm a man, no, I have to, you know, some of us men, sometimes we causing some things. So, in as much as men are the head, sometimes this issue of headship and the masculinity in them makes some certain forms of conflict or violence justified, you know, and it also portrays men. This gender also norms also portray men as protectors, you know, or aggressors. Can encourage them to take up arms. Yes, when they are, one thing good about the men is that when there are issues now, maybe when there is a war or when there is anything, of course, men, nobody expects the women to pick up arms. No, nobody expects originally, because men are men and they are wired that way and they are the head. They're supposed to be up there. They automatically are prone to taking up arms to defend themselves and defending their families and defending their country. So you see, that is not only women we are talking about. Conflict also affects men depending on their gender. These gender norms automatically, when it comes to conflict of war, conflicts maybe of, God forbid, we don't even want to talk about armed robbers because we don't expect armed robbers incident. We don't expect it on this platform, you know. But sometimes when things are like that, automatically, because of gender, because they are men, they pick up the challenge. They know they have to defend. They know. So it's not only in the women aspect, so that Mr. Solomon will not crucify me. So now, meanwhile, women are often socialized to be passive and submissive. By nature of women, we are already wired that way. I like to use the word wired because there are things that are already in us that women are known for. So we are wired that way. Women are often passive and submissive, making it harder for them to challenge these gender roles, you know, and the conflicts that they perpetuate. So sometimes, because of the way these things have already been cast on concrete, it's difficult for women to sometimes challenge the role. I don't want to digress too much, but if I even look at it in different settings, you see that, like I always, that women are always at the receiving end of these things, because sometimes to overemphasize certain things, why? Because of already laid down, you don't raise your voice at a man, you don't raise your voice at your husband, or no account should you do this, okay, because a man is a man, he should do this. You see, these are some things that bring conflict. Okay, is a man, things that actually affects these gender norms, both the feminine and the masculine gender. Some of these things affect the process, you know, are sensitive, let me say, gender sensitive. Okay, so for, conflicts tend to reinforce and even worsen existing gender inequalities. When resources become scarce, women's access to healthcare, to education, and economic opportunities is often cut off first. Especially, like I said, we already know that part of Nigeria, where now, due to the way the world is, we are beginning to learn faster. You know, awareness created and things put out. Awareness created has made people to some of this resolve to be broken gradually because we are still in the peace building process. But we know that many girls have been subjected to the fact that the money, they cannot send them to school, you know, in some parts of the world because of their beliefs, because they are female, you know, women, what else? The woman will just land in the bedroom of the man. A woman's life just ends in the kitchen and all that. In those days, anyway, like I said, as we are growing, as the world is metamorphosing, we are doing away with some of those things. So in summary, the different ways that conflicts, like I have stated, conflict affects people, gender differently. The men are prone to taking up arms. The women are more of being at the receiving end of violence, maybe sexual violence, or being molested, of all those type of things. So it's totally different. We all receive these things at different levels or from different levels depending on our gender. So let's look at designing programs, some of the things that we can do that's still in this mainstreaming. Designing peace building initiatives that address the specific needs and priorities of women and girls. We've already talked about it. Allocating resources to support women's participation and gender inequalities and address gender inequalities in peace building effort. This is another thing. Gender budgeting, because when we talk about money, I don't want to be, now the way the world is, like I said, women are really, really going places. Women are really, we cast our minds back and find out that when it comes to money, the first gender that is looked at is, oh, a man. Or maybe our perceptions as well is believed that a man has money because, why? Because by virtue of how men are wired, they are to provide for their families, they are to keep the money rolling, you know, they are to do what they have to do to ensure that their family members are comfortable, they take care of their family. So when it comes to money, it's mostly maybe the men to cater for maybe this program that has got to do with men and that program that has got to do with men. So allocating is important, that resources are allocated for women, to women, to support women in whatever they are doing. Resources allocated. Like we can attest to the fact that when we talk about this peace movement, when we talk about it, we see things like about women's riots, like we all know. You know, women were the ones that actually spearheaded it because they wanted their voice to be heard, because they wanted to handle some form of injustices and so on. So all these things, women will be restricted a little bit when the finance is not there, when the money is not allocated, when the support is not there. It's not very easy for them. So since we are talking about peace building and we are trying to see how to integrate it, then it is important and paramount that the budget aspect of it should be taken care of as well when we are looking at that. So at this point now, we have finished with the first module. We don't have much anymore. We just have a run through. So let me run through them. Let's just see how to move around it. Afterwards, there will be time for questions because I wanted to pause for questions. But now that network is still friendly, I think I should just go ahead and see how to pause for questions when we get there. So now we want to look at module 10, evaluation and monitoring of peace building programs. Now this part is very, very important. Evaluation, whatever you do in life, it is important that we stop back and evaluate ourselves. What I am doing, is it right? It's just like the trainings I have been having with NJB or the things we have been doing. Yes, you have to pause at a point and get response, feedbacks over the years. You listen to people, you take their ideas, you take their suggestions, you incorporate them, you are evaluating yourself. What I've been doing, is it working? How far has it gone? So that's what we are going to look at. We've been talking about peace building, talking about the things we should do from day one of this training. Now it has come to the time to evaluate and monitor and find out, want to learn how we can find out if these things that we actually do, how far has it gone in helping to build peace? That's what this module is going to talk about. A few slides on this module we'll talk about. So now, peace building, like we talked about, or I have been talking about, is a complex endeavor. It measures, it requires careful consideration. It's a journey, and as a journey, you take your steps, step-by-step process. So it involves frameworks, things that you put in place to see, to feel the impact, to find out if the things I have done, relief materials, did they actually get to those people? How far have we been able to reconstruct, to have the post-conflict reconstruction to ensure that everyone is beginning peace, normalcy is actually returning. And you also, not only on the positive aspect, because what I believe is you build on your failures, because certainly you are bound to have hiccups, you're bound to have bottlenecks. But if you can pick those bottlenecks and build upon the bottlenecks, it will help you to do better. If you are doing something the first time, you trample upon some hitches, you have some hitches on the way along the line, you build upon those hitches. If you do that, certainly the second time you do something should be better than the first, if you were able to build upon the hitches you had. So that's what we are going to be looking at here as we progress. That's what this particular module is talking about. So designing, monitoring, and evaluation frameworks, putting things in place to ensure accountability, to demonstrate impact, to inform future programming, to ensure that you are on the right path. This is very, very important. Now, what you have to do, developing clear objectives and outcome. Before you go about building peace, ensure that you have your objectives. What are the things you wish to get at the end of this? What are the things you wish to achieve? These are things that you have to put in place. For example, let me give you an example of some maybe Nigerian government peace building programs and how they were evaluated. I want you so that you understand this module, because it's very short, but if you follow me, you'll understand it's in a detailed form. So, for example, the Borno State Reconciliation and Peace Building Initiative. When we used to have, in the wake of that Boko Haram insurgency some years ago, our government, the Nigerian government, launched some programs to facilitate dialogue. When they, at the heat of doing this, doing that, different violent situations here and there, the Nigerian government now launched a program to facilitate dialogue. Remember, we are talking about designing and monitoring frameworks, or evaluating the frameworks put in place in peace building processes. Okay, now, why did they have that? They had that program to facilitate dialogue, reintegration, and rehabilitation of affected communities in Borno State. I remember that time in Borno State. They did a whole lot of things. They put some programs in and they did a whole lot of things to ensure that peace, there is normalcy. They established a committee that comprised of community leaders, of civil society groups, and government officials as well, to regularly assess the program's implementation, to see how far or how best or how they are moving. These were some of the things that they did. They also conducted surveys and focus group discussions. They had surveys, they had group discussions with beneficiaries to gather feedbacks. They tried to do some, to get some people that were ready to lay down their arms to reintegrate them. So they had to follow them up. They had to conduct surveys to ensure that even the people that we reached out to, maybe those people that were displaced, that we rehabilitated, they needed to find out if their effort has actually taken care of, maybe relief materials. The government is trying to see how to build a camp for them, you know, for a camp for internally displaced persons, maybe for them to stay. You find out that if they don't follow up this, what they are doing, if they don't follow it up, evaluate and monitor, water will go under the bridge. Let's take, for instance, some relief materials that were given during the COVID period. We got to, the news carried it, and we got to gather that a particular set of people, now what they did was that when those relief materials are given to those people that actually need them, those internally displaced persons, some set of people will now hijack those things. And at the end of the day, the purpose with which those materials was actually delivered, the purpose with which those programs, those as society, civil society groups and foundations had those things for these people, the purpose was actually defeated because it was rechanneled and taken, you know, for selfish gains. So these are some of the reasons why it is important for the government or for people to follow up peace building, to monitor the healing process. They also had tracked metrics such as the number of people integrated, number of community dialogues, you know, to find out, okay, which people are having this dialogue, how many people are involved, what are the results of the dialogue, you know, what is they get to find the incidences, the people have actually laid down their arms. What are those done with those arms? How are those people treated? Have they been reintegrated? You know, a lot of processes in place to ensure. So these are some of the things, the examples of for you to try to make these people heal. We go about doing these things, especially the government. Okay, commissioned independent third parties too. They were commissioned independent third party evaluation. They just took neutral people, commissioned some parties, some bodies to look into their matter on a neutral ground and give feedback. That's third party evaluations. Evaluate the situation and see whether it's actually helping and give the feedback to the government. So these are some of the things that examples of how this design, monitoring, and evaluation frameworks go. So now we have the Niger Delta too. We've talked about the Boko Haram. Now let's look at the Niger Delta, for instance. There was a program, the Niger Delta Amnesty Program was put in place by the government. Now, this program was initiated to disarm, to demobilize, and to reintegrate militants in the Niger Delta region, to bring them back. Militants that were tired of carrying arms. Militants were now reintegrated into the society. They had to see how to work with them to ensure that they make good use of their lives so that they don't go back to carrying arms and become violent again. So you see, these are some of the peace building processes that were put in place to ensure that, yes, they don't go back and continue to do what they started doing. So they set up, what were some of the things they did to evaluate the progress, to evaluate how far that Niger Delta Amnesty Program has gone. They set up a monitoring and evaluation team, directorate, to collect data. They set up a team to monitor and to evaluate, to collect data on the number of weapons that were surrendered, I beg your pardon, that were surrendered because these militants gave up their arms, they surrendered their weapons. So they needed to keep track of it. They needed to understand, to know, okay, how many weapons from how many people, okay, you know, and then the ex-combatants too, trained and employed. Some of the ex-combatants were trained and given and employed so that they will have make meaningful use of their lives. You know, that was one of the things they did. They also facilitated community level dialogues within the community. There were dialogues, community heads, heads of organization, key stakeholders had dialogues to understand the perceptions of the program beneficiaries and non-beneficiaries on the impact of the amnesty. Because I remember when that amnesty program was there, so many people in the news and some people kicked against it. They were like, why should you do that? If you do that, if the government does that, that means they are encouraging people to go into picking of arms, knowing that, yes, at the end of the day, they would be integrated into, at the end of the day, nothing would happen to them. They won't do anything to them. By the time they are done with what they are doing, they'll just give up their arms and say they don't want to be militants. I mean, they don't want to be, militants again, you know, and the government will just embrace them and integrate them and all that. So many things were going on. So there was need for the monitoring for them to monitor and know how far everything went, so that no party will feel cheated. Nobody will be excluded from that amnesty program. Good. So they also collaborated with international organizations. They didn't work alone. They collaborated with United Nations Development Program, you know, to conduct periodic assessment of the program's effectiveness and sustainability, because they needed to keep tab of it. Even United Nations needed to keep tab of the fact that, okay, amnesty is the way forward. Let's see how far. Let's see how it has changed, how it has reduced violence, how it has reduced the issues of insurgency. Let us evaluate it and see, is it really a way forward? Will it help these people? Will these people really lay down their arms and never return to doing those things that they used to being violent? These are some of the things. So they also adjusted the program strategies and budget allocations based on the feedback and evaluations to address emerging challenges. Like with everything, there are challenges, you know, so they needed to know how to handle the challenges. That was one of the reasons. They needed to know that the challenges they faced, how were they going to meander it, you know, and to handle them. So what were some of these are some of the examples, rather. These are some of the examples. The Nigerian government actually used a variety of metrics to evaluate the effectiveness. They used different methods to evaluate the effectiveness of the peace building programs that they were trying to do, to ensure that there were peace there was peace rather in this region. Where as at that time, you know, they had the reconciliation and reintegration metrics, conflict reduction metrics. They had a whole lot of things. They did a whole lot of things. Economic and livelihood metrics too. They decided to engage, you know, to employ them, to ensure that they had sustainable livelihood, something that will sustain them. They have improvements in household incomes and economic well-being too, because most of these people picked up arms to go into of their homes. So there were no jobs, they didn't have the means to do the things they needed to do. So they had to see violence as the only option, pick up arms. That was the easiest way for them to eke out a living. So the government decided to ensure that empowering them will help take care of a whole lot. Maybe they'll take care of their family, you know, and help in the development of the economy as well, you know. And equally, it also helped their attitudes too, improved attitudes and perception. They had different towards peace and reconciliation, changes in their behaviors with some of the things that they achieved. So the government used different types of quantitative and qualitative data, information, evaluation, various metrics to ensure that they assess the outputs and the outcomes of everything that they have actually delved into. So like we can see here on this slide, they involve stakeholders in the design and the implementation of whatever they were doing for ownership and legitimacy. Of course, you know, you cannot deal with a particular region. That's one thing we need to understand without incorporating the key leaders of that region. It doesn't work. Like if you have communal clashes and you want to see how to help to build peace, you cannot do it alone. You have to region or those regions that are having those issues. You have to bring them, the chiefs, you have to bring everyone together to see how everyone can try to arrive at, you know, be on the same page. Very important. So assessing impact and effectiveness is also what we are trying to see here. How can you assess the impact and the effectiveness of what you have done? It is important. Anything we do in life, you have to assess and find out whether you're actually doing the right thing, or you'll be busy doing the wrong thing for so long and you wouldn't know. So hence the evaluation, you know, and so isolating the program's contribution to positive changes, considering other factors that may influence the situation. So in a bit of us trying to to build peace, there are so many things that are involved. There are so many things. Thank God today we are going to end this training. And I know you are going to get the slides. I have seen that the recordings have been placed in the group for us to go. And I've seen so many views. So I believe that most of us have visited those trainings. Hence, there wasn't any rush in dropping the slides. But today, at the end of this training, I'll ensure that MJB management will place the slides on the platform. Immediately I'm done. I'll do that first before I do any other thing, so that you will get to go through it and read. I'm really seeing a situation whereby we don't exceed 7 o'clock because network is a bit dicey over here that I am. Even if we exceed, we don't take it to far above. So these are some of the things: analyzing of assessing impact, analyzing, measuring outcomes and impact, analyze data to assess if the program activities is leading to a desired outcome. We talked about that already. You carry the government, like I talked about Boko Haram and amnesty program, the government will see how to liaise with this, get the data, get the necessary information to understand if they're actually on the right track. Excuse me, I have a little cough. So cost-effective analysis too. In doing all these things, weigh the costs, evaluate the program's efficiency in achieving its goals relative to the resources invested. Of course, you are going to have to invest a whole lot of resources into ensuring that there is peace, building peace. You are going to getting those people in that amnesty program, bringing them back. You invest a lot of resources. You have to train them, which will cost you money. You have to do a whole lot of rehabilitation on them to try to disabuse their mindsets, because these are people that are used to violence. They've already chosen their path. So for you to be able to disorientate them, their brains, then you have to ensure that you train them, you do a whole lot of, you make them comfortable so that they don't think of going back. And so doing, the more you make these people comfortable, the more you reintegrate them into the society and into the economy, the less of the violence, of the tendencies of us having these issues of insurgency to be greatly reduced as one of the peace building process. So equally, learning from failures and successes. Peace building, like we said, is a long-term thing. It's not, you can, since we have been talking about peace, we are still learning. It's work in progress. It's important that you learn from your setbacks. The government learn, maybe the other time they did this, they'll feel, okay, it wasn't right for us to do this. We're supposed to do, maybe if we had done this other way, maybe if we didn't reintegrate those militants, maybe if we had given them the necessary punishment and maybe give them life imprisonment or this, maybe it would have been better. So they weigh all these options in the course of having these peace building programs and strategies. Fine, it's not cast on concrete. You pick the one that aligns most. And of course, they are bound to be failures. So when they have these failures, it's important that we build upon them. Like we learn from these failures. So how can you learn from the failures? Analyzing what went wrong to identify areas for improvement. If you do it this way, you see it's not working. You do it the other way, you see it's not working. You change, you build upon the failures and see how you can right the wrongs that you had the first time and make it better the second time. Sharing best practices too, documenting and disseminating successful approaches to inspire and inform future peace building efforts. These are things that are very, very, you have to document and then make sure that those approaches are there so that next time, in case we don't pray, because anytime we have peace building projects or programs, we pray that we don't have issues. Nobody wants war. Nobody prays for war. Nobody prays for conflict. But normally, we cannot run away from conflict. So when we have this conflict, even if they're interpersonal, even if they're intrapersonal, even if they're international conflict, we should build upon, use the best ones, and three, we discard the ones that are not useful. That is it. We document them, either written. For the government, it's always important that you document, keep all those things so that in case of a repeat, it can help to inform your future efforts, your future peace building decisions. It can help you to do it better or get it right the next time or improve upon that. So using M&E, that's monitoring and evaluation data to adapt program strategies and activities based on learning and changing context. Adaptation, adapt program strategies, use the different strategies and activities based on learning in change the context depending on, like I keep telling you, that what works for me may not work for you. We have different personalities and we have different nature of our conflicts may be different. So what works for A may not work for B. So let us look at the last module that will just have about 7 slides. This module is the last but not the least. It has just 7 slides. So like I said, I'm still trying to see how to keep to my promise of not exceeding 7 for the first time today. Okay, so leadership and advocacy for peace. Please just at the end of this training, it's important I say that now. As we move along, please, today I've not had contributions, so I would like to have contributions. Like I tell you, nobody is an embodiment of knowledge. So I would want to, like I have already learned day 1, learned day 2 from participants, the very knowledgeable professionals on this platform. I've learned a whole lot. And as I keep progressing, I learn a lot. Remember, we are talking about building upon what you already know. So please be ready to share certain experiences of maybe marginalization. We have women on this platform. They could want to talk a little bit on that, you know, or the men as well, talking a little bit on their own, the way the gender norms affect them in peace and conflict too. They may wish to bring other light to us, you know, to learn. So I just want to go through the remaining 9 slides or so, and then give room for interactions before we call it a day. So let's see. Now, this is the last module that is actually going to explore. It's going to talk about effective peace leaders, strategies for promoting peace and social justice, and methods for mobilizing resources to support peace building initiatives. Supporting peace building initiatives is very, very important. That's what we are going to look at today. And we'll also see how women too have supported peace building initiatives. That's what we are going to see in practical in this module 11. Now, leadership skills in conflict transformation. Remember, conflict transformation delves deeper than conflict management. If you remember from the one that we learned, and say, okay, stop the fire, drop your arms, and then you think you're done. No, have to This is what I was really guarding against. I was really scared for network because it's been friendly since. Please, are we together? I'll need to share my screen again when we have network fluctuation. It goes off. Are we together, please? Can everyone hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you.
I hear you, man.
Okay, we had a little network fluctuation. Sorry about that. So like I was saying, this is the last slide, and I thank you all for your patience. I know today is Saturday and it's not easy when it comes to weekends, but it's worth the while. What is worth doing is worth doing well. So, so now, as leaders, we need that skill. We need leadership skills when we are trying to transform conflict, like I was saying before we had the network issue. Transforming conflicts delves deeper. You have to know why there is this conflict. What is the cause of the conflict? What has been done? What you hear the grievances from both parties. So it's a whole lot. It's deeper than just the conflict management. Now, as leaders that play a crucial role in driving positive changes and fostering peace. Now, this section, this particular last module, is going to look at vision and goal setting. As a leader, you must have a vision. You must set your goal. You cannot just delve into resolving a conflict without knowing what is your goal. Or maybe let me not look at government. Now, let me look at maybe in the office, maybe an interpersonal conflict, two people working in the same workplace, and they have a conflict. You as a leader that is trying to mediate or to help the conflicting issue to be solved or resolved. Now, the ability to articulate a clear vision for peace. Now you want to come between these two people. You want to see how to put peace in between them. What is your goal? What do you hope to achieve? Do you want them to return back to be functioning the way they were functioning? Have you looked at the total picture that when these two people are apart, like I had the first illustration the first day, when these two people are apart, what happens? What harm is it going to bring? So all these things, before you go about trying to resolve a conflict, please, it's not just a light thing. It's something that you have to really delve deeper. You have to listen, use the contact and cover. You have to do everything, ensure that you know why, you know your goal, you know your vision. When you have a vision for anything, you succeed. You target your goal. It's like a person running a race. You are running, your target is to get to the finish line first. You want to be first. Fine. Then your eyes is on that finish line. So we have to have, as leaders, we have to have achievable goals that we have set for conflict transformation. Building trust and relationships too. Leaders must establish trust with diverse stakeholders across the conflict divide. Now, you cannot handle a conflict, you cannot resolve a conflict if the partners involved don't have a level of trust in you. For instance, if you ask someone, there is an issue now between maybe two ethnic groups. I don't want to mention two ethnic groups. Maybe there's an issue now, and you are asking a neutral person to come and try to see how to resolve a serious conflict between two people from different ethnic groups that has got to do with their ethnicity. Now, there should be a level of trust. They should have a level of trust. They should know that you are not partial, that you are not biased, that you are going to sit in the middle and you are not going to take sides. So they have to have that trust in you. They have to have confidence. Yes, confidence goes with trust. They have to have confidence in the fact that you are able to resolve, that you know exactly what you are doing and be able to resolve this conflict. So building trust and relationships is very important, especially when it comes to communal issues. If you don't build trust in the community, if you don't, there's no way they'll be able to give you a listening ear. There's no way they'll be able to believe, to understand that you have their interests at heart. These are things in any relationship, in anything we do in life. Trust is very, very important. It's very important in the workplace, in our homes. We must build trust. So that is how it is, even in conflict. So we need that trust. Building trust is a skill that you need to transform conflict transformation. Okay, we are almost getting there. So you also need communication and negotiation skills. 2, effective communication and negotiation skills are essential for facilitating dialogue and building consensus. We talked about this, I think the one, if I am not mistaken, really talked about communication. And I did tell you that there is nothing that can be achieved without communication in this life. That's what I believe. Personally, aside my professional, personally, I believe that communication, if you cannot communicate effectively, then you are already having a problem. You are already having a problem. Whether you are you work as a worker in your office, you cannot communicate effectively with your colleagues. You just feel that the whole world revolves around you and everything is all about you. No, it doesn't just work like that. Communication entails you giving active tasks, listening actively to people, showing people respect, that their own opinions is important. So these are some of the skills. We had it in the first day, so I will not overflock it here. We need to have the communication skills. We need to have negotiation skills to be able to handle, to facilitate conflict resolution. Strategic thinking and decision making too. Leaders need to make sound decisions while considering the long-term implications for peace building. Your decisions must be that, like we've had several examples in the course of this training. We've had a whole lot of examples and scenarios. Today, I wanted to be more on the professional setting. I did not want to give you too many illustrations today, like I did day one, day two. I wanted those two for the illustrations. So we have to, as leaders, we need to make sound decisions. That's to say, we shouldn't just make decisions like that. We should ponder over them. We should understand them before we actually make decisions. And we should consider this decision I'm making, what is the long-term implications? It's just like I talked about that amnesty program when I was talking about when earlier on today, we talked about it. I said that one of the things that the government did was to make those people, to reintegrate them to the society, to do this. They weighed the long-term effect of that. They looked at it, the long-term effect. Okay, if these people are actually integrated and they are given a source of livelihood, then it will make them return there. It will make them stabilize and they will become responsible and be able to take care of their family. So in any decision that is made in a bid of trying to transform conflict, trying to resolve conflict, should be sound decisions. Also taking into consideration the pros and cons and looking at the long-term implications of these decisions. Empowerment and collaborations too. Effective leaders empower others. They collaborate to achieve the goals. They don't work, no man is an island. They don't work on their own. They are not embodiments of knowledge, like I said earlier. You know, I believe there's one thing, that's not one person can have all the right knowledge. So if we are faced with conflict situations, take into consideration, you can collaborate with people, you can collaborate with the community members, you can collaborate with the chiefs, you can even move around and carry out your own research, grassroots research, find out firsthand from the people that are actually encountering this, and so on. There are a whole lot of things to be done that we need to know. So advocacy for peace and social justice. Advocates for peace and social justice. It involves you taking action to promote peace and social justice. Public awareness campaigns, you can do that by having public awareness campaigns for the public to be aware, you know, about the human cost of conflict. Let people know, just as we are trying to do on this platform, let people know that conflict is, that war, that violence is not an option. Let people begin to be aware that there are things that could have been nipped in the bud. There are situations that have escalated that wouldn't have escalated if the conflict was properly handled at the initial stage. Let people know the importance of peace, importance of living in peace with your neighbor, importance of working in the workplace peacefully, to be at peace, you know, with themselves, with others, that peace is very, very important. So you can create this awareness, you know, public awareness campaigns. People get to know these things. You can also do that by policy advocacy. Like we say, women should be integrated into all facets of government, of leadership. Because when it comes to pulling crowd, you know, women are very good. When it comes to being able to convince, women are. Likewise, men are also there, but women also have, because of the way they are wired, you know, they know how to go about convincing, talking. So lobbying policy makers to enact laws, they don't even have to lobby, but when they are there, they will help to spearhead laws that will be enacted and policies that will promote peace and address the root causes of conflict. Community mobilization as well, organizing and mobilizing communities to take action for peace. Using media and technology. Oh, in this jet age, in this technology ICT world, now the world is now a global village. You can just reach out to 1,000, even everyone on this platform knows MJB directly, but It is through technology. So you get to hear many things, you get to know what is happening wherever you are in the world. You take trainings from NJB and so on. So technology, in a bit of creating peace, you could leverage the power of media, of social media and technology to spread messages of peace and to mobilize support for peace building initiatives. It's just a matter of bringing it open into the media. Before you know, people, if there are issues, if there are conflict scenarios, people will get to know. And it's very easy to pull a crowd, especially through the media. It's very easy. So mobilizing resources for peace building initiatives. Fundraising, of course, you know that there's nothing you do really that doesn't involve the financial aspect of it. Money makes the world go round. So whatever we want to do, fundraising, you see ways that maybe these civil society groups, these foundations, there are many foundations that reach out for the less, help the less privileged. You know, they speak out, voices, women foundations even, and so on. Bodies that really speak out. So they could raise funds, secure financial resources from individuals, from foundations, from organizations, women organizations, you know, to help to finance the peace building process because it actually involves money. Volunteer recruitment and management, recruiting and managing volunteers to contribute their skills and time to peace building. They are volunteers. It's just like the Red Cross work when they are across a group, the International Nigerian Red Cross, and so on. Not only the Red Cross, we have so many organizations that can easily volunteer to help contribute their skills, what they can, their own quota and time to help in the peace building processes too. Okay, resource partnerships, building partnerships with organizations working on peace building to leverage resources and expertise, grant writing, you know, proposals to secure fundings for this. So there are a whole lot of ways that you can generate resources or you can mobilize resources for peace building. There's nothing as good as mobilizing for peace. In the world, it is important that we learn this piece, how to resolve conflicts, how to, regardless the kind of conflict, it is important that we learn to resolve it. So finally, I just want to provide some examples for us this evening of successful women-led peace-building initiatives in Nigeria. Like in Nigeria, like I said, being involved. There was an instance that we had some time ago that we had, I think 2010, if I'm wrong. We had the Plateau Women Okay. I think this is going to be the last. We've had a network fluctuation once again. Network is, thank God we have come to the end. But before we move out, we call it a day. I just felt I should share this with you. I was talking about some peace building, compelling examples of some successful women-led peace building initiatives in Nigeria. We talked about the Plateau Women's Peace Conference, and that was in 2010. You know, when we had that ethno-religious conflict in Plateau State, a group of women leaders organized the Plateau Women Conference in 2010. And this conference did something. It brought together over 500 women from diverse backgrounds to collectively identify the root causes of this conflict and to develop communities for reconciliation and peace. You know, the outcomes of the Plateau Women's Peace Network, up until now, that is still in place. Plateau Women's Peace Network, you know, was formed, whereby when there's any issue, they quickly come together and see how. So the conference of this, the outcomes of this conference included establishing the Plateau Women's Peace Network that has come to stay. Someone's mic is Okay, then we. Okay, Mr. Sani, please can you help us to mute your mic? Thank you. All right, so we talked about the place to Women's Peace Conference. Another one is the Aba Women's Riot. That's another beautiful one. That was in 1929. Thousands of Igbo women in Aba, Abia State, organized a massive protest against colonial taxation. So you see, now I'm talking about 1929, dated far back. See how women really, pulled weight. Now, the largely forgotten event in Nigerian history demonstrated the power of women's collective action in challenging oppressive systems and advocating for their rights and representation. Now, that particular riot is now recognized as a significant precursor to Nigeria's independence movement and a testament to the crucial role women play in shaping the country's political and social landscape. That's not it. That's not all. We also had the Maiduguri Women's Mediation Network. That's another one. Maiduguri Women's Mediation Network, MWMN. It happened in the midst of that Boko Haram insurgency in the northeastern Nigeria, where a group of women leaders in Maiduguri established this particular network. And it has been instrumental in facilitating dialogue between communities, security forces, Boko Haram members, leading to successful reintegration of these combatants and the restoration of social cohesion in affected areas. So these examples, just a little out of so many, showcase the remarkable leadership, the resilience, and the impact of Nigerians, both the men and the women, in driving grassroots peace-building efforts. So, with that being said, from the beginning of all this training, we have been talking about conflict and peace building, which is very, very crucial at this point in our lives and at this point while the world is turning into. And the bottom line of it all is that we should understand that peace building is a process, is a work in progress. Like I said, it is a journey. And if we continue to play our part, continue to do our own little work in our own different little ways, put together, it will go a long way in helping us achieve a peaceful world. That is what we have been looking at. So at this point, we have come to the end of the training. I would like to pause now. This is time to hear from you, your contributions, to learn from you. Well, I've been doing the talking, you've been learning from me, and now I'm not ready to be learned from anymore because I've come to the end. I'm ready to learn. The floor is open now. If you have your contributions, you have any scenario you may wish to share with us, maybe impact you have felt as a result of marginalization, if you're a lady here, how you've been treated unfairly. Let's just talk for the next 5 minutes before I hand over to MJB and Management and Integrated Services. Thank you so much. Please, the floor is open for anyone. Mr. Solomon, the floor is open for you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Good evening once again. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ma? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Ma? Can anybody hear me?
You're welcome.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Good evening.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes, I can hear
Okay. Thank you very much for the insightful lecture.
you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
now
I can hear you.
All right, let me go ahead if you can hear me. Thank you very much for the insightful lecture. And because of time, I will just summarize what I have here.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. We have come to the end of this training, this course. I don't know whether you have before. Maybe she will come before we wrap it up. But if there's any question for MJB Management and Integrated Services, if you have any question concerning any area, you let us know. Anything you want us to do better, please. Anybody, Mr. Martins, because Mr. Martins, very soon you become a shareholder in MJB Management and Integrated Services because you're always part and parcel of all the trainings that we've done. So, Mr. Martins, you have anything to say, sir?
Hello, MJB.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, doctor.
Please. I'm sorry. I got network just cut me off. I did not hear one thing that Mr. Solomon said. Please, Mr.
Okay,
Solomon.
over to him.
I didn't hear anything. My network just.
Okay.
Mr.
Thank you very
Solomon,
much.
please, just 1 second. Can you just? Sorry.
Okay, even the network affected me, so I could not really say anything.
I didn't hear anything, so I was like, oh, why?
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for the insightful lecture. All I just want to say is to appreciate you and all the women doing wonderful works in the world. But there is something I noticed also when it comes to gender inequality and the belief that the education sector, in fact, people don't send women to school and it seems as if there is a bias there. Now, I could in a secondary school where you have boys and girls in the same school, and I got to understand that you hardly see a boy fighting a girl, but a guy can be fighting another guy because of a girl. And one thing I noticed again is that yes, because we men seem to be protecting women, but sometimes women don't know it. You see, even when right from the Bible days, and even when Eve was the one that plucked the apple, gave to Adam, and Adam, God, when Eve was eating, he did not talk, and even when Adam was eating now, and some philosophers said he had not even swallowed it, and the tea hung on his throat, and that is why we men now have Adam's apple. It is still hanging on the throat today. But having said that, I noticed in the secondary school also that when it's time
Mr. Solomon, we have lost you. I think maybe there's an issue with his network there. I don't know. Mr. Solomon. Okay, MJB, please, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, doctor.
Okay, so I think we have lost Mr. Solomon. I don't know. So, do we have any other person that's? I think before I ask for Mr. Solomon, Mr. Martins, MJB, you were trying to say something about Mr. Martins. Please go ahead.
I was saying Mr. Martins is in fact, is one of our loyal participants. Is always taking part in all, not just all, but most of our training. So very soon, Mr. Martins will have a share. He will be a shareholder in our management team.
Wow,
so Mr.
That's
Martins,
beautiful.
do you have anything to say, sir? Mr. Martins, sir?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. I don't have much to say,
Good
but I
evening.
want to appreciate you for allowing me this opportunity, this platform to learn the few things I've been learning through the platform. I mean, my own is a word of appreciation to you for creating this platform.
Thank you so
As
much,
much as
Mr.
possible, I'll continue to
Thank
do
you
that.
so much.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Mr. Martins. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any other person?
Okay.
Any other person on the group?
Please, MJB. Though we've lost Mr. Solomon, I would be glad if I heard a woman say something. Oh, sorry, network. Patience, no, who have not actually even heard your voice on this platform. I can see why. You said your network is poor. Wow, sorry about that. So Patience, no, who Rachel. I've only seen two ladies. I don't know if we are more. So if a Patience network is bad, Madam Rachel, please, can you say something before we conclude? Can you just share something with us or say something so that as we have heard from men, we hear from a lady and we know we are done. Rachel, okay, perhaps network. So let's not prolong issues so that network. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm here. Good evening, all.
Good evening, Rachel.
Doctor, thank you for the 3 sessions we had with you these 3 weeks. It has been impactful.
Yeah.
New knowledge has been learned. Yes, and we
Thank
also
you.
thank MJB for organizing this training. So
That's
thank you,
beautiful.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for thanking me. I'm glad. In fact, I really enjoyed this set of participants. I've learned a whole lot from you, and I hope to see you more. Right now, we have some trainings that on Grant. I think MJB should do the talking as regards that. Thank you so much, and I wish everyone a lovely night rest. Over to MJB management. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you. I think the vote
you.
of thanks has been given already by Mr. Martins and Madam Rachel. I really appreciate you, Doctor. Thank you so much because whenever we call on you, you've never disappointed us. You've always been wonderful. Thank you so much, Ma. And for our wonderful participants, thank you because if you don't believe, there's a lot of platforms, a lot of them coming out today. They've been coming out. Even the one as I'm talking to you, there's one I saw. They've been scamming people, fraudulent activities, but you decided to trust us. I want to really appreciate you for your trust because even we here in MJB management, we have targets to keep. So we thank you for helping us to keep that target, to meet that target. We pray to God and we trust God that all these certifications, it will be a life or a game changer in your life. God will do it for all of us in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Then finally, please, if there is, we have a lot of trainings coming up. We have the certified nursing assistant, the professional course is coming very soon. We have professional caregiving, how to be a caregiver is coming very soon. We have also fire prevention course is coming very soon. So just we'll be updating you every time. So just be on the platform, we're updating you for courses, for professional programs that you will be interested, you want to take part in, you want to have it. And also we have the certified supply chain manager coming up very soon. In fact, on the 29th of June, 29th of this month, it's starting. It's just 3 Saturdays. So if you're interested, you can join the platform and we'll be updating you over and over again. Now for your certificate will today is Saturday, so expect it from now 1 week from today. That means from now down Saturday next week. Expect it. So I want us to have a lovely night rest. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good
Thank
night.
you. Bye.
Good night. Thank you.
Bye. 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 Yes.
Thank you for the information. Bye.
Good night. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good night. Yes, sir.
You've not said anything about the materials?
Yes, and concerning the materials, yes, sir. concerning materials, you will have them. Mr. Hillary, right, sir?
Yes, sir.
Is it Mr. Hillary? Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, the materials will be there. Either you get it Monday from now till Monday, so everything will be there for you.
Okay. Then secondly,
Is that for
hello.
Mr. Hillary or every one of us?
Okay. Okay.
Hello.
Okay, Mr. Bayo.
I just know. Hello.
Okay, Mr. Hillary, go on, sir. Who is
Yes.
talking?
I don't know whether the audio version can also be made available because the doctor put more effort in the audio than the material itself. So I don't know.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just asking.
Huh?
No problem, sir. We are checking on it. If we are able to, if we check on it and there's no issue, we'll send it together.
People, like me, I don't go burn anybody my phone.
If there's no
Okay,
issue
thank
with the
you,
audio,
appreciate.
we'll put it together. Yes, sir. Thank you
Look
so much,
forward
Mr.
to seeing you
Hillary.
again and hearing from you.
Okay, sir. Nice. You too, sir. Mr. Bayo, you wanted to say something, Mr. Bayo?
No, for the I'm just talking about the material. So if they've ironed it out already.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night, thanks.